Hello, Georgie.
It's how I didn't check. How long is it since I worked with you?
Okay, so I want to say we finished around, oh gosh, 2017. It was probably around October, November of 2017. So
Right.
slightly over 2 years ago that we were, yeah, that I was seeing you.
I thought it was a while. So, do you want to
Yeah,
start by telling the listeners what brought you to me and what
sure.
situation were you in at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. Like many of your patients, I started suffering from chronic pain. For me, it began kind of in my shoulder, left shoulder, and just kind of started gradually getting worse, radiating down my arm. And I think the thing for me that was really difficult to accept was up until that point, I had virtually no TMS or mind body type symptoms. Always took a lot of pride in my physique. I was always very healthy, very athletic. I played sports growing up. And when I started, experiencing this pain that just kind of came out of nowhere, it sent off a lot of alarm bells, like what's going on? And I remember running to this doctor and this therapist and this specialist. And, I did, oh my gosh, looking back now, I did an MRI on my shoulder, an MRI on my neck. I mean, it became my obsession. I needed to know what was going on.
Yeah.
I'm at the time I was based in China. I was working in China, and I literally flew down to Thailand to get a second opinion, to go to Bumrungrad Hospital in Bangkok because a friend had told me you should go there. They're world renowned. So I went there thinking, oh my God, maybe they're going to operate on my spine. Maybe it's a really bad, bulging disc, et cetera, et cetera. I got down there, saw the specialist, and in the end, he was like, there's nothing significant here. This is just normal spinal degeneration. You've got a couple of bulging discs, et cetera, et cetera. And that was another thing. I became obsessed with all the terminology. I was always researching.
I
Oh,
remember it well.
yep, spinal stenosis, this and that. You really get into it, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with the same thing because you want to find a root cause.
Absolutely. And can I ask, how old were you when it all started, Billy?
Okay, so I just turned 33, so I guess, this was what, 31? 31,
Right.
30? Yeah, about
Okay.
to turn 31. Yeah, so, 30 years old, and that was another thing. I was like, why is this happening to me? I'm still quite young. Like, it's just unexplainable.
Absolutely. And that was triggering some anxiety within you as well, wasn't it?
Oh, constant anxiety. I mean, it was to the point, Christmas of 2016, I didn't travel. It was that bad. The anxiety and the pain. So by the time we were doing sessions, I guess, yeah, that was October or so of 2017. I had already been struggling with this issue for about a year. But I remember the previous Christmas in 2016, I couldn't even get on a plane.
Wow.
The anxiety was that bad. I remember I told I was like, I don't feel comfortable leaving the vicinity of my hospital and my doctors. That's how bad it was. I remember going to see my physical therapist and telling her, or I remember she asked me, she's a Kiwi, she's from New Zealand. She's like, are you traveling over the holidays? And I just kind of fabricated this story like, oh, I don't really feel like seeing my parents this year. But in my mind, really, I couldn't leave the therapy. Like I needed it. I needed to know that I was doing something to address the issue. I couldn't travel. It had a huge effect on my, I'm a school teacher, so it really affected my performance a lot. It was just difficult getting by day. I remember there were a couple of times I had to reach out to you, and I literally thought, like, I can't deal with this anymore. I specifically remember that. That was probably around, yeah, October or so, 2017, shortly after we had started doing sessions.
Yeah, I remember that, and just really worried about how you were going to be able to carry on, because more about the anxiety, but the anxiety was obviously the pain was fueling the anxiety, but that anxiety almost became the most prominent symptom, didn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yep,
So
and they
how was it
fuel each
affecting?
other. They feed off of each other. It's just that vicious cycle that you had always mentioned.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you came across, how did you come across this work then?
I remember a colleague of mine had told me that he read Dr. Sarno's book, and he recommended it to me. and I devoured it, of course, because I was obsessed. I devoured it probably within a day or so. And, you go to Google, and I started, Googling TMS doctors, and I came across you. And in all honesty, I think I had contacted you and someone in the States, but you were the first person to respond. You seemed like the most likely person who could help me. So I said, let's go for it. And from there, the rest was history. We started doing sessions.
Mm-hmm. So it was really helping you look at what was actually driving the symptoms, as well as the underlying causes and why the pain had been triggered, what were the underlying causes. Are you happy to tell the listeners a little bit about why you developed this pain and why you feel you developed it? Yeah?
You know what, Georgie, in all honesty, I don't know. Looking back on everything, all the sessions that I did with you, and I mean, I did follow up hypnotherapy. I was seeing a chiropractor at one point. I saw a physical therapist. I mean, I did the whole 9 yards. I saw every kind of specialist. And in all honesty, I cannot pinpoint what caused it. And I think for me, one of the things that really gave me a true breakthrough is when I just let go of looking for answers, because it became my obsession. And I let go. I stopped counting the days, because, you become obsessed. You get so into your head, and every day you're like, oh, you wake up and you're like, oh, I've been now in pain now for 5 weeks, you're tracking your progress and stuff. And it's just funny because at the time I could tell you exactly, I've been in pain for this many days. But now when people, I have to think about it, like, oh yeah, it was around 2017 or so. You just kind of, when you can start to let go and stop counting and stop focusing on it, because what you pay attention to will grow, and what you take your attention away from will truly atrophy. And for me, it's not something that happened overnight. It was a process. It took, again, probably around a few months. It wasn't a quick fix, but over time, I mean, I was, like I mentioned, I was very athletic, sports, basketball, working out, and I stopped all of it because I was too afraid, oh my gosh, maybe I'll aggravate it, or, oh, I have a torn rotator cuff, maybe I shouldn't do this. But then I remember you sending me that study about the basketball players. It was something like 40% have degeneration in their knees, but yet, they're asymptomatic. And I just started looking at everything, and I'm like, this is all so true. This is all the mind body, and each little things, like me and Stina, my wife, we have an argument, and the next day the neck starts acting up. Like, now I just laugh at it. It's just hilarious to me. It like my dad, he's, oh, my back's acting up today. And I'm like, you're just TMSing. And he's like, yep, good old TMS. Because that's all it is. It's just good old TMS rearing its ugly head. It's laughable.
Absolutely. Just the mind body constantly working together. And when you when you were working through this, and you were saying that it was about, well, first of all, this learning to let go. I mean, I remember you were really trying to find the one thing that had triggered this pain, and I was trying to encourage you to start looking at how your past experiences had impacted you, and how that had, why you are as you are because of your experiences, and how that impacts our beliefs, our behaviors, our personality traits, and that it can be just a thought or some inner turmoil during a time when you're highly stressed that can trigger something, which actually in itself is a minor trigger, but it's actually then that the obsessive side comes in and really desperately trying to find out, and all that then fuels it all, doesn't it? And it's
sure,
you can know that you need to let go, and I can be guiding you and encouraging you, but I think you'll agree it's about, you can read about it, you can be told about it, but it is a process, and it's just a journey. And then once you get it, you can't unlearn it, can you? Once you learn this experientially and you see what's happening to yourself, that's when you've got that. It's like an epiphany, isn't it? Once you do.
It is. It's an epiphany, and for some it'll come quickly overnight. For others, it's just a gradual process. I mean, just to give you an example, today, I did some interval training. I did some HIIT training, some sprints, and then some weights. I remember when I first got back into weights, or first got back into exercise, I was just completely terrified. Like, oh my God, what if I aggravate this? What if I injure that? You just get the mind so powerful. you know, and I was just even on edge exercising. Now I don't even give it a second thought. I just do my thing. Played basketball the other day for probably about 3 hours. I'm just living life, loving life. And it's just amazing, you know. One of the things I think that really has helped me through all of this is just focusing on gratitude. And I know this is something you had mentioned a lot, you know, with the journaling and ending with gratitudes and things to be thankful for. Because when you want to find things in your life to complain about, you'll always find them.
There'll always be things.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but when you find things to focus on, even just little things like, oh, today the pain was a little bit, you know, less than usual, or just enjoying a nice meal, just the smallest things, you know, or a loved one or a pet or whatever, it really helps a lot. And another thing too is to just not take it so seriously. Of course, at the time I was taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
You really just have to have fun with it and treat it as a game. And you told me this so many times, and I was like, how on earth do you treat something like this as a game, you know? But it helps.
To have fun in your life. To go, I remember saying, you know, do something fun with Stina. Don't just sort of focus on what can I do, what I can't do, but actually look at what are the things that you love to do, and that helps you learn to let go, doesn't it? When you're laughing, you can't be fearful.
Yeah. And I just, when I look back now, all I do is just laugh. I mean, I remember seeing I was seeing a specialist at one point, an osteopathic doctor. Yeah, that's another type of specialist I saw. And I remember he was a French guy, and he's, you know, he was doing his thing on my neck, and he's like, oh, I make an adjustment. I just look back now, and I just think it's hilarious. You know, the fact that we need adjustments, you know, like this is all, the human body is so strong and so resilient, you know, like it's all in the mind. It truly is.
For me, this is just wonderful listening to you, Billy, because I know you actually reached out to me to ask if you could, you know, to get back in touch again, tell me that you'd actually got married to Stina, and to share your story. And listening to you now, from when we were working through the program, when you were so anxious and in that sort of obsessive side, this is, for me, it's just wonderful to actually see
great.
you, hear you.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, I started my master's. I never would have even dared to dream of that when I was going through. I was like, of course I can't do that. You know, I'm in too much pain. You know, I started my master's. We just got married. We're potentially thinking about having kids in the next couple of years. We're both really blessed that we're in a place where we can take time off of full-time work. So, you know, because I'm ever since all of this, I'm very much a believer in, you know, in mind-body harmony and work-life balance. So, you know, I was like, I'm not even going to pretend to think that I can work full-time and do a master's, you know, an MED full-time. So, you know, let's take a year out, and I'll find something part-time. And, you know, I've just been really fortunate. I literally just started the job today, and it's nice, you know, to be able to have this time once again to kind of reflect and grow in other areas other than just work, you know, because you really have to take care of the spirit. You have to take care of your emotions. You have to take care of, you know, your loved ones. And it's just, I'm really grateful to have this chance right now and to be doing, you know, what I enjoy and what I love. That's
wonderful. Really lovely to hear, Billy. So if you were going to give some advice to people listening, apart from the gratitude, is there anything else that you would suggest that helped you on your journey that you would recommend as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The journaling for me definitely helped. And in all honesty, I haven't journaled in a long time now. But, you know, every once in a while when you're feeling the stress, you have to acknowledge it. And it's, for me, it really helped getting it, you know, on pen and paper, letting it out, and then just kind of letting it go. You know, you unload those thoughts, whatever it is that's bothering you. And of course, you know, as mentioned, ending with the gratitude. And I think another thing that really helped me is just surrendering. Because when you resist it, it'll just persist. Absolutely. It really helps a lot when you just surrender to whatever it is you're feeling. Don't fight it. Just learn. And it's hard. It takes time, you know. You just kind of have, like, whenever I surrender, I just kind of imagine myself, I don't know, at the bottom of a deep ocean, and, you know, all the sharks and stuff are all around, and I just kind of just let myself sink. All right, just let them have me, whatever, you know. I'm not even going to try and fight this battle. You know, it's useless. It's pointless. I'm surrendering, because when you resist, it just creates a lot of resistance, you
And
know.
did you have a moment when you did that, when things did, it was almost like you felt that things were just letting go, and that you weren't fighting anymore?
Again, it's something that just, it came over time. You
Mm.
know, I remember you had recommended the Headspace app, so
Mm-hmm.
I was meditating for a while. It was just little bits and pieces here and there that really helped.
Mm.
You know, I think for some, you know, like you said, they're going to have this epiphany where they find that one thing that really truly works for them. But for others, you have to experiment a little bit. And I
Yeah.
think that's another thing I'd recommend too. You know, like, don't just give up. You know, I know it sounds
Mm.
cliche, but if it doesn't work out, um, you know, in terms of therapy and sessions, seek out something else, because I think everyone's on a different path. Everyone is on a different journey. And my dad right now, he had a stroke a year ago, and he's really struggling with anxiety and stuff. And when I
Mm.
just kind of look at what he's going through and where I've been, it's just crazy that I'm now in a position to help him, because he's never really dealt with anxiety his whole life. And that's one of the things he says. He's like, I've never experienced anything like this in my life before. Oh, I can't believe I have to take anti-anxiety medication. I'm like,
Mm.
it's not a big deal. So what, you know?
Yeah.
Because you become so attached, like, oh, you get into that mindset. Oh, why is it me? You know?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm so thankful, Billy, and I know other people will find your story so helpful for them. And thank you so much for being willing to share your
Sure.
story, because I'm sure it will help many people.
Yeah, and all the best in 2020. I'm to all those out there, just relax and have fun. Honestly, let it go. Stop counting it. Stop focusing on it. Go out and cherish. There's so much in this life to cherish and to be grateful for and to find joy in, and just seek it out. You know, and I know that there are a lot of people who are suffering from every type of ailment under the sun, and
Yeah,
it's difficult, but you know, when you persist with anything, there is hope. There is a path forward.
absolutely. And it's about having hope. Thank you very
Yep.
much, Billy.
All right. Thanks, Georgie. Take care.
Thank you.
See
You
ya.
too.